Ronaldine thought, how did things come to this? The tension in this meeting hall was so high. The person speaking said, "Your Majesty, please give him another chance." The next moment, he was done and dusted. Now, the emperor turned toward another person. All of them were watching her. She must save them. Ronaldine thought, why are they all staring at her? She don't want to die either. But at this rate, His Majesty will take another life. Ronaldine stated, "Your Majesty, please try to calm down. It's fine. Everything is going to be all right." Then she thought, what does a girl have to do to make it through another day? She could not believe it at first. How could she be inside a novel? Initially, she was in denial. She had become the emperor's secretary, not knowing that he was actually a tyrant. And not only that, she didn't think she would have to put her life on the line to pull him out of his murderous haze. She really wanted to quit this job. Her dream was to become a high-paid secretary. But right now, she just wanted to get away from His Majesty. How did she end up like this? Now, back to the time when the story started. On the day of the interview for the job of royal secretary, she could have stayed on as the secretary to the Duke, but she wanted more. She wanted to be the right arm of the most powerful person in the empire. The salary would be much higher. It would put her one step closer to building an orphanage for abandoned children. The Secretary of Treasury told her once she passed the interview, she would start working as His Majesty's personal secretary. Ronaldine thought, the current emperor of Auvergne has a renowned reputation. He converted Auvergne from a kingdom into a vast empire. It would be an honor to work as his personal secretary. After some questions, the secretary stated that she seemed to be a knowledgeable woman. He was surprised that she was able to answer all the questions with ease. She had just passed the interview. His Majesty would have the final say. Ronaldine thought, His Majesty, is he referring to the emperor? The next scene, she greets the emperor. Then the emperor said she may look up. Ronaldine looked at him, and when their eyes met, she conjured up a memory. With eyes like ice, Darren looked down upon those standing in front of him, his hair ink black like the deep sea at night, and his golden eyes shimmered with cruelty. Could it be she recognized that murderous gaze? In the novel, Darren was a talent. If he is murderous, does this mean she won't make it out of this room alive? The emperor said she is hired. Ronaldine was shocked. The emperor told her she may take her leave now. After some time, Uciel asked if she passed. Ronaldine replied yes, but could she ask him something? Did His Majesty enjoy killing people? Uciel asked if she heard rumors about him. Ronaldine replied no, but she could sense the tension in the air. Uciel spoke. It's not true. Maybe she were intimidated by his charisma. Ronaldine thought he is a terrible liar. Is she now the personal secretary of a talent? She has no solid proof, but judging from the aura and the cold look in his eyes, her gut feeling says that this is a terrible idea. She doesn't want to be beheaded during work, but there is no way she can back out now, and most certainly cannot escape. This novel had a female protagonist. She soothed the Tyrant Emperor until they finally found their happy ending. It's going to be all right. She is an amazing secretary. She will hold off until then. She asked if she could start work next week. She will make sure to be here on time, and thought she will stay put until the female protagonist comes into the picture, then submit his resignation letter. Uciel studied as she is His Majesty's personal secretary. She must be by his side at all times. Then, on the first day of work, Ronaldine thought time is going by so slowly. She shall learn the ropes at His Majesty's office. In an hour, there will be a meeting to discuss the field investigation for the upcoming project. Uciel spoke. She heard them discuss the administrative meeting tomorrow. She will be joining the meeting as His Majesty's secretary. Ronaldine thought, why would he do that? He doesn't even know her. Then, on the day of the administrative meeting, she is as prepared as she can be. She can do this. Then after some time, so began this long, tedious administrative meeting. Everyone was butting heads over everything. They even discussed a single topic for several hours. She jotted down notes throughout the meeting. Uciel stated, make sure to streamline what she have written down. His Majesty prefers reports to be short and concise. As the meeting progressed, nobles stated this won't do, who made the decision to hire a commoner. They said she was capable. This won't do at all. Ronaldine thought she just held her tongue. They are in the middle of the meeting. The emperor stated he thought they are in the middle of the meeting, yet they are there to talk among themselves in his presence. Then he asked which bill they postponed as they failed to come to an agreement. What is her take on the water system? Ronaldine spoke. The canals of the empire rely heavily on the Ravoda River, which runs throughout the center of the empire. However, the soil of the Ritai estate is soft, making it difficult to build underground pipelines. They are having trouble irrigating from the river. The estate has only recently gone under development. One of the nobles asked His Majesty, "What would a mere secretary know about this topic?" The emperor spoke, "Carry on." Ronaldine continued, "Rather than relying on the river, the water flowing from the nearby mountains, they may be able to solve this issue by constructing an underground water filtration plant." She knows their empire has relied on the river since the very beginning, but neighboring countries have successfully set up a similar filtration system. The emperor stated, "Who has a better idea than what Ronaldine just proposed?" She found a solution to something they have been struggling over. That should prove her competence. He chose her by himself, so stop squabbling and focus on the meeting. Ronaldine thought, how did he know that she had the answer to his question? She feels a bit unsettled. After the meeting, as she spent time with His Majesty, she thought, he seems different from what she read in the novel. He was actually far from being a tyrant. His only flaw was that he was a workaholic. He tired out the top, but rarely raised his voice. There was one thing that bothered her. Why does he always drink mysterious potion? Is it medicine for some sort of disease? Come to think of it, in the novel, Usiel asked if she had something to say. Ronaldine replied, yes. She asked, do he have a younger sister? Usiel spoke, he does. She is much younger than him. Then she asked, did he grow up with His Majesty by any chance? Usiel asked, how did she know that? Ronaldine replied, she noticed how familiar they seemed to be with each other. It was a calculated guess. She was confident of the fact that this is a story world, and what she remembered turned out to be facts. Then at night, she thought, but she's still not sure whether she will be able to survive here. If what she read is true, His Majesty is almost identical to a tyrant. For her to survive, she needs to remember the entire storyline, but unfortunately she read one too many books in the real world. All she knows is that the female protagonist will be leading a delegation from a neighboring country, but that won't happen for another 6 months. She just needs to figure out how to stay alive for the next 6 months. On the other hand, Usiel thought, he wonders why she asked that question. Does she know more about His Majesty than she is letting on? She is the only applicant among others who came forward. He hopes she doesn't quit. After some days, Ronaldine is starting to get used to life in the royal palace. They haven't sent the maid they promised her, but she is used to doing things on her own. Being the emperor's secretary is not bad at all. She has a heavy workload, but her salary is just as high. The next moment, she was shocked. A person was nearly dead, and the emperor was there with his sword. Ronaldine thought His Majesty isn't his usual self. She knows she should run away, but her feet are frozen to the ground. At this rate, she is going to die. The emperor spoke. No, he needs to stop. His Majesty has 2 bells on his desk. The small white one is used to call the royal physician, and the other, the gold bell, is used to call in Usiel. The next moment, Usiel came. The emperor told him he wanted him to take care of Ronaldine. She seems to be in shock. Usiel said, is she right? Why doesn't she go to her room? He will take care of the rest. He is sorry she had to experience this. Then, at night, Ronaldine thought, she finally got her wits together. It was already well into the night. That was very fine. She thought, he wasn't the tyrant the novel portrayed him as. This may be a story world, but it's her reality now. When she came to after her death, she was lying on the streets, slowly losing consciousness, and her saviors, they were none other than abandoned orphans. With their help, she found a place to stay. But the orphanage was located in the slums, where crooks took advantage of innocent children. She was an adult trapped in a child's form, but the kids she was with were innocents. She had to do something. Upon hearing that secretaries received high salaries, she conjured up memories of her past and studied as hard as she could. For the next 16 years, she started working as the secretary to a baron, then slowly moved her way up until she became the secretary to a duke, and she was able to rescue the kids from the orphanage. With Modon, who rescued her from the streets, she began to dream. In it, she would rake in the money and not only save the children around her. Suddenly, a lady asked if she was all right. She wanted to come earlier, but the parliament took forever to make up their minds. She couldn't believe such petty people were making all the big decisions on their behalf. Ronaldine asked who she was, then Mayvine introduced herself as Ronaldine's lady-in-waiting from now on. After some time, Mayvine spoke. She heard Lady was caught up in an unfortunate event this afternoon. She must have been frightened. Ronaldine replied, yes, she was. She thought the palace would be the safest place in the empire, but she didn't want to quit just yet. She had worked so hard to get to where she is today, and the salary was really high. Mayvine said, hang in there, she has her now, she knows all about the royal gossip. Ronaldine thought, the truth is she was definitely helpful. She kept her so preoccupied. She didn't have time to reflect on what had happened. Thanks to Mayvine, she feels better. A few days later, Ronaldine thought she didn't know His Majesty was suffering from PTSD. She can't delve into the details, but His Majesty suffers nightmares due to a traumatic childhood. When the symptoms get worse, he starts to hallucinate, and as a result, his view of the world becomes distorted. Uciel told her the medicine Emperor takes is concocted of various poisonous herbs. It wreaks havoc on his body, so he only takes it when he feels the medicine is wearing off. The next day, Ronaldine thought, why is no one here? Is someone there? She shouted, His Majesty. Is he all right? Shall she call the physicians? Ronaldine thought, what have she gotten herself into? The Emperor grabbed her, then said to him, it's not because of him. Ronaldine thought Lucretia lifted her hand, sad that she did not have enough time to lavish more love upon her son. The storyline is flowing into her mind. The story continues. Her pale white hand fluttered to the floor after leaving a bloody imprint on her son's cheek. She thought she didn't have enough time to lavish more love. The Emperor stated, Mother. Then he was dropping at her. Uciel stated, he is sorry. He is late. Ronaldine spoke. Why is he always one step behind? You terrible man. After the Emperor has gone to bed, Uciel spoke. The Emperor seems to have become immune to his medicine. They are going to have to find a different cure, Ronaldine thought. They are also going to need to find a cure for her mental stress. Uciel asked, why don't she take a week off? He is sure this is taking a toll on her mental health. He will take care of her duties while she gets some rest. The next scene, Ronaldine was on vacation, she thought. They said PTSD. It must be related to his mother. She wondered what happened. Back in the Emperor's childhood time, he thought, he is sure she loved it. Then he was shocked, and he said, Mother. His mother stated, it's all his fault. Suddenly, the Emperor woke up. The next morning, the Emperor thought, Uciel is here, meaning he has been out for quite some time. Then he asked, where is my secretary? Uciel replied, he gave her the week off. The Emperor asked, why is she absent? Uciel replied, he attacked her while he was in a haze, but unfortunately, she wasn't injured, the Emperor stated. He tried to hurt his secretary, but she lived to take the week off. It can't be. Uciel spoke. He seems to have arrived right after he lost consciousness. When he arrived, the Emperor was already slumbering. The Emperor thought, he fell asleep right away. How could that be? But he does remember something. On the other hand, Ronaldine is searching in the library. Information she gets now is Lucretia. That's the name of His Majesty's mother. She was said she could not show more affection toward her son. She searched high and low, but records of His Majesty's childhood were nowhere to be found. There were no records left of the former king and queen. Either she didn't look hard enough, or someone purposely wiped it clean. Why would they do that? She ended up spending the week researching on the Emperor. She came and asked, "How is he today?" The emperor stated, "So she is back." Ronaldine asked if there was something he wished for her to do. The emperor replied, "Not really." Ronaldine thought, surely he wasn't worried about her, or he will. Lord Usiel did all the work while she was gone. Then, they finally resolved the issue regarding the estate. And finally, a delegation is coming from Pojin. Ronaldine asked, "Is there a delegation coming from Pojin?" Usiel replied, "It's rather sudden. But they are sending a delegation to discuss trade with our empire. They will be visiting in 3 months. Ronaldine thought, a foreign delegation. In the book, the female protagonist visits an empire as part of a foreign delegation. This must be it. However, Pojin is an island. Is this the female lead from an island? And that is why they are holding an emergency meeting today. Then, at the meeting, nobles stated there is no need for them to forge a relationship with them. That is a mere unknown island. They have nothing to gain. What if they try to steal our culture? The other one said, "What do he mean by that? Of course, they have something to learn from them." The emperor intervened. "Have they all said enough? We can discuss the details when the delegation arrives. He just need to hear their opinions. That's all." Then he asked, "What are their thoughts?" Both of them replied, "They are in agreement." Ronaldine thought, she is not in complete agreement, to be honest. And said, "Not much is known about Pojin as it was closed off from the world, but from what we have heard so far, there seems to be one thing in common. They have rare plants and herbs that do not grow on the continent. They use the herbs to advance their medical industry. If we were to forge ties with them, our medical industry will make leaps and bounds." The nobles countered, "But that is merely a possibility, and it isn't enough for us to sign a treaty with them." Ronaldine thought, but some people are grasping at straws for that very possibility. She saw so many people die of disease in the slums. The noble class may not see it now, but they definitely need an advancement in medicine. After some time, Ronaldine thought she must put together the rabid banquet. Usiel told her His Majesty wants her to put together the upcoming rabid banquet. He knows the Parliament have a vendetta against her. It will be the perfect opportunity to prove them wrong. Ronaldine thought, His Majesty has always kept it simple and modest. She has yet to prepare a tea party on his behalf. The female protagonist will be arriving right after the banquet. What does she do once the protagonist gets here? The banquet is right around the corner. She is not mentally ready for this. Is it too late to switch everything around? Then she asked, what made him believe that she was suited to oversee the banquet? Usiel replied, the Duke held her with very high regard. Thanks to her notes, he can envision how the banquet will look like, so don't worry. In the next scene, Mayvine stated they need to prepare a dress for her to wear to the ball. Then all the maids came. Mayvine stated, she come from the Medell family. Our family has been designing and running boutiques for generations. Now, Ronaldine are in good hands, and we would like to make a beautiful dress for her. Then, on the day of the banquet, before that, this is the Loptis Castle, but time took its toll on the banquet hall. Bold-colored curtains were draped over the flawed areas, and strategically placed lights gave it an ethereal feel. Everyone thought the banquet would be mundane as usual. Nobles were chatting. They heard this was His Highness's secretary's doing. Hosting a banquet is no easy feat. Then the emperor came. Ronaldine thought she didn't realize until now, but His Majesty has won the trust of his people. Is he the formidable tyrant she read about in the novel? Or is he an emperor loved by his people? Or is he an emperor suffering from childhood trauma? Who is he? The emperor stated thanks for joining him here today. Ronaldine thought, that's all he has to say. The emperor is watching her. Ronaldine thought she must not break eye contact. Then the marquis came and introduced himself and her daughters. Ronaldine thought, why does her daughter's name, Verica, sound so familiar? Is she one of the supporting characters in the novel? The marquis stated she should know her place. What is a commoner doing here? Ronaldine was shocked. The next moment, noble ladies came and praised her for the banquet preparations. Ronaldine thought she didn't think it would be good to get so much attention. It's shocking. Really, one of the noble ladies stated she would love to send her an invitation. Yushal stated. Unfortunately, Lady Ronaldine is up to her neck with work, now, if they will excuse them. After some time, he said, don't be surprised if people start sending gifts her way. They are bribes. He is sure she will manage just fine but wanted to give her a heads up. The next day, the doctor spoke. The effect of the potion is getting shorter and shorter. His body is becoming more resistant to the potion. Yushal asked, what about His Majesty's health? The doctor replied, not good. Naturally, the poison is eating up his body. He is concocting the potion upon his orders, but this is a temporary measure, not a cure. And not a good one at that. At this rate, he may collapse at any given moment. Ronaldine thought there is nothing she can do, and it's none of her business, she will be leaving soon. Then she thought, is there anything missing? No, they went through multiple times. Today, the female protagonist is coming. The delegation from Pojin has arrived. Ronaldine thought she would be heading back to the dukedom finally. The emperor welcomed the delegation, and the head of the delegation also greeted the emperor. Then it's the meeting, Ronaldine thought, not the female lead. Where's the female leader? Wasn't she supposed to head the delegation? But their empire is a massive one. She is sure there are many countries that wish to send a delegation. The emperor stated, so the rumors were true. He really is adept in phytology. This is the trade agreement they have come up with. It includes what they discussed here, but please look it over. Ronaldine thought, how did things progress at such a fast pace? Did she miss anything? After the meeting, Ronaldine thought, why did he stop walking? Oh no. Did the meeting take longer than it should have? One small rumor could snowball into something big, especially if it refers to the emperor. If someone catches them now, they may find out about his secret. Ronaldine stated, may she assist him, His Majesty. Suddenly, their hands touched. The emperor thought, he doesn't want to hurt her again, he said, it's fine, don't touch him. Ronaldine thought she was merely trying to help. It's not like she was trying to touch him on purpose. Then at the office, the emperor said, leave the documents on the desk. Ronaldine spoke, if he will give her a moment, she is not quite done reading them over. Then she started her work and thought, was Sir Vasnet doing this every month? Suddenly, the emperor's condition is getting worse, the emperor stated, call for Rigot. Ronaldine thought she knew she should make her escape, however, she had a strange feeling. Suddenly, the emperor grabbed her. The next moment they are on the floor. Ronaldine spoke, please calm down, it's fine, it's all good. Everything will be all right. Please wait, Your Majesty. She thought he is not in the state of mind to listen to her. Wait. Didn't their lips meet just now? She said, Your Majesty, he must let her up. We need to get up. Please wake up. The next scene, the doctor asked if he heard she was looking for him. He was able to treat His Majesty after he collapsed yesterday. Ronaldine replied she is here today to see if they can find a different way to treat His Majesty, as his condition seems to be getting worse. The doctor stated, is she saying Pojin is full of plants and medical herbs unseen on the continent? Ronaldine replied she hasn't seen it herself, but that is what the head of the delegation told His Majesty. The doctor said, it would be wonderful if they could find different types of medicinal herbs there, Ronaldine said, but they may also return empty-handed. The doctor replied they will have gathered valuable information. His Majesty put him in charge of overseeing his condition, but there is a limit to the potions he can concoct. Not only does the trauma remain, but it also has nasty side effects. His Majesty's life is at stake. They must do whatever they can to find a necessary cure. Ronaldine said it's a pleasure seeing him again. Vahern asked if they wish something of him. Ronaldine asked if he could introduce them to an expert on Poyernian plants and herbs, preferably someone with medical knowledge. Vahern replied they have come to the right person. He knows most about medicine and botanical research in all of Pojin. After some time, the doctor said what they are about to tell him must remain absolutely confidential, so the thing is, it's related to trauma. He must swear to secrecy. Ronaldine asked what he wants him to sign in a disclosure agreement. Vahern also asked if he would like him to sign a contract. The doctor replied that would put his mind at ease. After that, He told him the nightmares continue and they hallucinate. Even when they are awake, it brings out their violent streak, which not only hurts them but the people around them. They fought a 9-year war to become the empire they are today, so he initially believed it was the trauma of war, but upon further inspection, it seems a traumatic experience took place much earlier. They are currently residing in his country home, but they cannot keep them there any longer. They must find some sort of cure. Vahern replied there is no medical cure to get over trauma, but he does know what medical herbs are needed to concoct a potion. Doctor asked if he is serious. Vahern replied he apologizes. This is all he can offer him. The doctor stated it's more than enough. They have given them to take their research in a different direction. After some time, Vahern stated he brought the herbs she requested yesterday. The herb is called renpium. It's a simple yet effective herb. It is rather pungent, but not poisonous. She steeps it in hot water like tea leaves. Ronaldine replied thanks. Please don't hesitate to let her know if anything. Then she thought if this herb works on him, that person is actually her lifesaver. At night, Mayvine asked Lady if she has the day off tomorrow. Does she have any plans? Ronaldine replied no. She was planning on reading in her study. Why does she ask? Mayvine stated she is planning on hosting a tea party tomorrow. Would she like to come? Ronaldine replied okay, it's fine. Ronaldine had no idea when she agreed to go that it was a tea party she should never have attended. The next day, Ronaldine took a look at the decorations. They are a fashion powerhouse for a reason. Then she saw the lady and thought she knows her. She saw her at the banquet. Her name was Verica or something like that. Why did she choose to sit across the seat of honor? Verica stated, where are her manners? Come to think of it, she is His Majesty's personal secretary. The other noble lady stated, that would mean she is a commoner. She is sure His Majesty was forced to hire a commoner. Just what kind of ruse did she use? Is she even listening? Ronaldine thought she will play along for now, then ask what it is they wish to say. The lady spoke. Have she been listening to her at all? Suddenly, Ronaldine shouted. The lady asked, why is she shouting? Ronaldine thought she remembered now. The villain who went out of her way to harass the female protagonist was Verica. She is sure she egged the others on. What was that? She dropped it of her own volition. She would better not blame her for the mess. Verica stated, this isn't the atmosphere to properly enjoy one's tea. Why don't we wrap up the tea party? She hoped Lady Mayvine doesn't mind. Then she said, it was a pleasure, Lady Ronaldine. Her job belongs to me. Ronaldine thought she has gotten on her bad side now. After some time, Mayvine stated that Lady Verica, it turns out, she has been stalking His Majesty for a long time. She is being out to get everyone ever since she was rejected for the role of His Majesty's secretary. But they can't do much about it as the Piff family has deep pockets. This isn't how she expected Lady Ronaldine's first tea party to go. Ronaldine replied, it's fine, go get some rest. In the next scene, Ronaldine thought this feels like an adventure. Working helps her clear her head. Who does Verica think she is? She can't believe she caught the attention of the villain already. She is already up to her ears taking care of His Majesty. When will they find a cure? And when will the female lead make her grand entrance? She really wants to go check out the top floor. Something is strange. She can't see a thing. Is it an abandoned area? She sees a light. She should not have let her guard down just because she found light. For in this dark castle, hid the biggest threat of all, an unstable and precarious sort of threat. Emperor said, it's not his fault. Don't come. Go away. Stay away from him. Please don't die. Mother, don't leave him. Ronaldine thought it's not right to identify her young self with him. She is sure other people would feel sorry for him too. It's human nature to want to help others in need. She said, it's all right. Then she thought she is here and she can help him. His face is dripping with sweat. Suddenly, Emperor grabbed her. Ronaldine thought his heart is pounding. She can't push him away. She forgot that her nightgown is made of sheer fabric. Ronaldine said, please wait, and thought, just kiss her and get it over with. The next moment, both of them kissed. She could smell the scent of his skin, and she was so nervous she could hardly breathe. He became unconscious. So, This is His Majesty's bedroom. Emperor is so heavy. She had carved some time out to exercise, but how could he fall asleep after kissing her like that? Suddenly, Emperor grabbed her hand. Ronaldine thought, why is he doing this to her? If she will leave once he falls into a deep sleep. The next morning, Emperor thought he feels so peaceful. Why is he on the floor? Did he walk around in a haze again? But he didn't feel any pain. He feels relaxed. He has to get started on his work. Then, Emperor thought, what is this? Did he prevent her from leaving? He hopes he didn't hold on too tightly. Did she sleep on him again? He doesn't want her to suffer on his behalf. On another note, why is she so light, and why is he not repulsed by her touch? He hasn't looked at anyone this closely before. After some time, Ronaldine thought she slept like a baby on the Emperor's bed. How is she going to look him in the face? The next moment, Emperor asked, did she sleep well? Ronaldine replied, well, the thing is. Emperor stated, don't worry. He hasn't been so clear-headed in quite some time. The nightmare stopped midway. He thinks he fell asleep afterward. Ronaldine thought she doesn't think he remembers their kiss. Did the kiss help him break out of his nightmare? Usiel spoke. Would it help if they figure out why the nightmare stopped midway? Then he told Ronaldine the administrative meeting will take place this afternoon, so please read it over before the meeting begins. Then, at the meeting, a noble person stated that the Emperor must find a wife. Marriage is an important factor for the royal family. Another person spoke, imploring that he at least pore over the list. Then, they started listing different noble ladies' names for the Empress. The Emperor said, that's enough. Get out, all of them. Usiel shouted that they all need to leave and someone called for the doctor. Then the nobles started rushing toward the gate. The Emperor was behind Ronaldine. And then suddenly Ronaldine hugged him while saying, everything is going to be all right. She thought, please let this work. Then the Emperor was unconscious. In the next scene, Usiel spoke that she managed to calm him down 4 times. How is that possible? He wouldn't ask her to go into the details. However, he didn't know if he could call it a skill. But to have succeeded 4 times, that's definitely something. He knew this was a huge ask, but could she continue to take care of His Majesty? Ronaldine replied that he relaxed after she gave him a hug. She is sure it will work with others too. Usiel said that His Majesty prefers people to maintain their distance, but he is willing to give her a pay raise. Ronaldine replied that it's not a matter of money, and she thought he was so persistent. But he doesn't remember anything afterward. Usiel told her he knows it's not an easy task, but they are grasping at straws right now. Ronaldine replied she will need a day to think it over. Then, after some time, Ronaldine thought it's not her job to calm down His Majesty. The female protagonist should do it. At this rate, His Majesty will never meet Celsia. The Empire will fall into danger if they don't find a way to calm him down. Should she leave the country? Moving to a different country won't be easy. She has no choice but to accept Usiel's offer. The next day, April asked if she put him to sleep. Ronaldine thought, should she tell him that she did? What if he asked how she did it? Do she tell him she read about it in the novel? The Emperor stated it's fine. He just wanted to know how he fell asleep. That's all. Ronaldine replied that he no longer needs her help. The Emperor replied he doesn't. Ronaldine thought that's fine by her. She should get back to work. She needs to jot down notes. After the Emperor left the office, Usiel asked if she had thought it over. Ronaldine replied she was going to give him a positive answer, but it seems His Majesty has other thoughts. The doctor came and told them he concocted a new potion, and there are no side effects. He didn't add any poisonous herbs. After 2 days, Ronaldine thought it took 2 days to see if the medicine is effective or not. The Emperor shouted, call the doctor. Ronaldine thought the new potion didn't work. She doesn't need to help. He specifically said he didn't want it. The Emperor stated, run. Why she? Get out. He doesn't want to hurt her. Ronaldine shouted he can't deal with this on his own. He knows she can help him. How can he reject her when he knows she can be of help? Is he an idiot? Then she thought, why is he being so stubborn? He is doing this for both of them. Does she have to kiss him again? He has not fallen into a haze yet. Not that she wants to or anything, and suddenly she thought, did she just call him an idiot? Should she beg for his forgiveness? Should she say she lost it for a minute? The emperor stated, so that's how she sees him. He thought he had a good head on his shoulders. Ronaldine replied she just wanted to tell him that they worry about him. She didn't really mean what she said. She apologized for her rudeness. She will be taking her leave now. Then she remembered she forgot to give him the tea. Ronaldine said, this is Renfume tea. It's good for headaches. The doctor checked the ingredients. It should be effective. Then she had to go. After some time, the emperor asked if Ronaldine asked the delegation about the ingredients of this tea. Uciel replied yes. She made a suggestion to the doctor. The new potion didn't work, but the tea seems to be effective. The emperor thought she was trembling with fear one moment, then full of confidence the next. Has she been hovering near him? He found her asleep by his side once. He is still not sure whether she was looking out for him or scolding him. The emperor asked if he saw him as an idiot. Uciel replied that's right, not many realize it, but it's the truth. He wondered who told him that. Then Uciel said he is showing signs of recovery, thanks to Ronaldine, so he thought he should conduct an experiment. First, they will try holding onto his arms and legs when he loses consciousness. The emperor asked if he even considers him an emperor. Uciel said, but before that, let's try something now. He is still uncomfortable with human touch. Perhaps a hug will be better. The emperor replied, don't he dare. Stay away, don't come any closer. The next moment, Uciel stated it seems His Majesty is repulsed by hugs as well. They will bring in helpers starting tomorrow. The emperor thought he most definitely doesn't think of him as his emperor. The next day, the emperor stated to Ronaldine that the reports she submitted need fixing. He wants her to revise them. Ronaldine thought about His Majesty's personal staff and knights. What is going on? Then she asked, what is going on here? Uciel replied that he forgot to tell her. They took her advice to heart and decided to conduct an experiment. His Majesty is still refusing to touch others. They are trying to find ways to make him feel comfortable with the knights, personal maid, and butler, so his secret is safe with them. The emperor told him he is starting to see black shadows. Uciel stated that everyone should line up and give His Majesty a hug. The maid said she would place her hand on his shoulder. Then after that the emperor stated he still saw them. Uciel said it doesn't seem to be working. He wants to see if it will make the hallucinations disappear, so would she like to give it a try? Ronaldine stated she is going to take part in the experiment with His Majesty. This won't take long. Then she hugged him, and thought she forgot. She should have approached carefully rather than hugging him right away. She is sure he hates it. She will let him go now. The emperor grabbed her hand, and then told them interestingly that the hallucinations have disappeared. Uciel spoke that this experiment is over. They may all take their leave. They need to conduct another experiment when His Majesty loses consciousness. Ronaldine thought Uciel is really quite something. The next scene, Ronaldine was shocked that a delegation is coming from Ostinen. Then she asked if they are here to discuss the Trigovan pathway. Uciel replied yes, securing the Trigovan pathway would solve problems. Ronaldine thought he is a skilled artist. Then Uciel explained all the details. After hearing the details, Ronaldine thought this will allow Celsia to arrive safely, and she will be able to cure His Majesty. They are in a novel. That means it will take some time for the main protagonists to get to know each other. She still needs more money to build the orphanage of her dreams. The story is moving along, but nothing has happened yet. Tea parties consist of only a few members. Will everything be all right? At night, she received a letter from Illy in which she read that His Majesty's eyes shine as bright as the sun. She heard Ronaldine spends most of her time at His Majesty's office. Where is it located? She looked forward to the tour she promised. Ronaldine thought she never promised to give her it. There is not only a letter, but there is also a small gift with it. Then, a few days later in the office, the maid told her Lady Illy is waiting in the room. Ronaldine was shocked. She is in the royal palace. Suddenly, Illy came into the office. Illy said to His Majesty. Then she introduced herself. She has only been able to admire him from afar. Ronaldine told her, let's go outside, then thought she is so strong. The knight stated she needs permission to visit His Majesty. Illy spoke that Ronaldine said she could come. Ronaldine replied, "When did she ever say that?" Illy stated she told her that she would grant her a meeting with His Majesty. Now she is lying. She tricked her. She was fine admiring His Majesty from afar. But Ronaldine said she could arrange for her to meet His Majesty. Uciel asked what is going on here. Ronaldine replied, that's what she would like to know. Illy spoke that Ronaldine said she could arrange a meeting with the Emperor for a price, so she sent her many expensive gifts, including an expensive necklace. She took the bribes. Uciel asked if she is telling the truth. Ronaldine replied he actually believes her. Uciel said, of course not, she sounds so full of herself. Illy now asked the Emperor, please believe her. Ronaldine thought, is she delusional? She sounds so convincing. Does she have a few loose screws, or did she purposely approach her at the tea party? It could be both. Illy said Ronaldine doesn't deserve to be His Majesty's secretary. Ronaldine told her she returned the gifts Illy sent her. Illy replied he is lying. Nothing was returned to her home. The palace has records of all items. The evidence is all there. Then she said, His Majesty, it's a shame that his secretary turned out to be an evil woman. He must take swift action. She needs to be punished. Uciel stated records show that Ronaldine sent out a few items recently, and with the records, she sent them 3 days ago. Ronaldine told her she sent everything back in its original packaging. She can compare with the delivery records to see whether he is telling the truth or not. She once asked her how long it takes for items to be returned from the palace. At that time, she thought something was fishy, so she told her it's back in 2 days, but the truth is it takes a week. Her gifts are on their way back to her estate. The Emperor asked if she is finished. Illy shouted she just wanted an opportunity to be in his presence. The Emperor stated put her on trial. How dare she try to make conversation with him? Then at night, Ronaldine thought if she had not listened to Uciel's advice, it would have been her who had been dragged to court. Why would she go out of her way to frame her? She hopes someone didn't egg her on. The next day, Uciel tells her Lady Illy is in prison awaiting trial. The court will make a verdict once they come to a decision. Ronaldine asks if these things happen often. Uciel replies bribery does exist no matter where they go. Suddenly, Ronaldine asks if he is alright. Lord Claret stated that he needs their help. The delegation from Ostanin came a month earlier than scheduled. In the next scene, Ronaldine stated that the delegation from Ostanin has arrived earlier than scheduled. The Emperor asks, were they not supposed to come next month? Ronaldine speaks, yes, but they have not had time to prepare for the visit. Ronaldine thought the maid must be going to fetch his formal attire. She said she will be waiting outside the office. Then, after some time, the Empress came out. Ronaldine thought the two main protagonists are finally meeting up, and the story gets back on track. Then, at the meeting room, the Emperor speaks, she have come a long way. Celsia replies they are able to travel in comfort, due to the carriage and knights he sent them. Ronaldine thought it seems they got off to a good start. They started discussing possible trade between the two countries, and the atmosphere was so thick. Celsia speaks she personally believes that the route will become even more variable, so she is not sure the price they agree upon now will be a fair one in the future. The Emperor tells her the Trighaven passageway does have its merits, but she seems to be overestimating its worth. Celsia stated, but Vern is surrounded by the highest and mightiest mountains within the continent. She is curious as to how he plans on paving a road. The Emperor replies it may be difficult for Ostanin, but a piece of cake for an Avern. All of them were shocked and thought did His Majesty mock Ostanin in front of its own princess. Celsia speaks she didn't expect the negotiation to run smoothly. Then, what's the big risk on their end? They cannot accept his request at this time. Please forgive her rudeness. She hopes they can continue with the negotiation again during their stay. The next day, Celsia came to the office. Ronaldine said he needs to go check something regarding his birthday banquet. She will be right back. Ronaldine thought they had initially gotten off to a good start. After Uciel gave him an earful, His Majesty did his best to treat Celsia with respect. But Celsia's visits became more and more frequent. One time, The emperor said he wanted her to visit him just once a week, at the designated time and day, or the negotiations are off the table. He hopes he has made himself clear. She definitely seems interested in His Majesty. She should leave the two of them alone. As much as she cares, she can't hear a thing. Did she just try to open the door? If she went in, she would be getting in their way. She has to get her act together. She knows what's important. Ronaldine asked how the banquet is coming along. Uciel replied it's not perfect, but it's getting there. This will be His Majesty's first official birthday since he became the emperor. He always told them it wasn't a priority, so they kept it modest. They're having a lavish party thanks to her. Ronaldine said she merely told His Majesty that banquets also contribute to the growth of the empire. Uciel replied he didn't listen to him when he told him the exact same thing. Then he asked if His Majesty took his potion today. Ronaldine replied he took it this morning. He had some renfume tea afterward. Then she wondered if Celsia will step in if His Majesty loses consciousness, like she read in the novel. They may hug or take it to another level. Then she felt uncomfortable. She is not fine at all. She hoped it's just a mood swing. The emperor came. Then he feels hallucination again. Ronaldine stated, did the effect of the tea run out? The emperor replied, leave. He doesn't want to hurt her. Ronaldine hugged him and said it's fine. She thought she didn't know why, but she is not scared of him anymore. She wanted to help him. The female lead will soon take her place, but until then, she can't even be alone. Is it because she got to know him better, or does she feel compassionate toward the man in front of her? Then they start kissing. Ronaldine thought she is starting to feel a bit embarrassed every time this happened. She is sure he passed out by now. She needs to move him someplace safe. The emperor asked, did she help him out yet again? Ronaldine thought, does he remember everything? Did he wake up during the kiss? The emperor spoke thanks. Ronaldine thought he wants to get out of here. Then, at the banquet hall, nobles are chatting. It finally feels like a birthday banquet. Ronaldine thought everyone seems excited. There are so many new faces this year. She still can't get that moment out of her head. His Majesty doesn't seem to care, but it's not easy for her to stay by his side. She feels uncomfortable. Verica stated, so, the royal secretary, she is all dolled up. Not that anyone would appreciate it. She will always be a commoner, no matter how she is dressed. Ronaldine replied, rumors Verica shows up whenever His Majesty makes an official appearance. Too bad she didn't get this job, or she would be able to stay by his side all day long. Verica stated, if things had gone as planned, she would be in prison right now. But here she is yapping away. Ronaldine thought, don't tell her it started back then, and asked, did she egg Ilion, didn't she? Verica replied, what did she mean? She has no idea what Ronaldine is talking about. She did give her some advice. From what she knows, Illy said only her butler helped her out. That means she can't drag her into this. Ronaldine stated, they all are quite something. She finds it rather interesting that noble ladies like themselves view her, a mere commoner, as a threat. She wouldn't have given her the time of day if she were her. So to see they all acting like this, she must be more of a threat than she thought of herself. Verica spoke, she is a mere commoner. No one will even consider her as wife material for His Majesty. She can wear all the fancy dresses she wants, but His Majesty won't give her the time of a day. Ronaldine thought she never wished for such a thing. She already knows who he will marry. This has nothing to do with her. After some time, Ronaldine is chatting with Duke, also his old boss. Duke tells her he is so happy she became His Majesty's personal secretary. Even through a lot at a young age, she paved the way for Avern to become an empire. Please take care of him. Uciel tells her Emperor is urgently calling for her. Emperor asks she should be working, not gossiping. She was left last time too. Has she gotten sloppy? Suddenly he feels the headache pain. Ronaldine asks, does his head hurt a lot? Emperor replies the noise is making it worse, but it's nothing he can't handle. Ronaldine asks would he like to hold on to her until Lord arrives. Emperor stated everyone here will be shocked to see them holding hands. No matter how they play it, tongues will wag. She must look out for herself. She is the only secretary he has. Then she thought, are they going to throw it away? What a waste. Emperor said, bring back the dessert. Ronaldine, is he planning on having it with his tea, his majesty and sweet dessert? How contradictory. Emperor asked, is she not going to have some? Ronaldine replied, it's fine, his majesty. Then she thought, what's gotten into his majesty? He is acting so strangely, he hardly ever addresses her. Yusiel spoke, it's so delicious. Emperor asked, is he not tired of sweets? He struggled to lose weight. Remember, Yusiel spoke, he only allow himself to have sweets during banquets, and he hardly had any. Emperor stated, is he jesting? Where did all the cake go? Ronaldine thought she must refrain from laughing. Then Celsia came and greeted His Majesty. Ronaldine thought she knew things had to progress to the next level. She didn't expect Celsia to take the initiative. So why does she feel so nauseous? She is having trouble following their conversation. She will get some fresh air on the balcony. Then, on the balcony, she thought when they start his treatment, she never knew sitting around and waiting would be such a difficult task. Is she feeling this way because she is worried about the future? Just heal him and get married already. She should get back to work. When she got back to the banquet hall, Ronaldine thought, where did everyone go? Should she wait until they return? Then Ronaldine went to the room and asked, what is Celsia doing here? The next moment, Ronaldine was shocked. Yusiel told her he took his potion in the morning. Fant went to get the doctor. Ronaldine thought things are moving too quickly. Celsia hasn't come to his rescue. Ronaldine said, Your Highness, she will explain everything later. She trusts that she will keep this secret for the sake of their diplomatic relations. After that, Ronaldine said, Hold on a bit longer, His Majesty. Please try to focus. Please don't blame yourself. Ronaldine thought it's not only painful for him but for those around him, and it will only get worse for her. Yusiel thought, what is going on? After some time, Yusiel stated, His Majesty has fallen asleep, so please stop crying. Ronaldine replied she was not crying. Yusiel said, Anyway, things don't look good since the princess witnessed everything. How should we explain this to her? Ronaldine thought the Celsia she knows wouldn't resort to blackmail over what she saw, and then spoke, allow her to go talk with Her Highness. She doesn't remember all the details of the novel. She recalls bits and pieces here and there. It's worrisome how the story has shifted from the main plot. It means she and His Majesty will continue to suffer. The next scene, Celsia asked if His Majesty suffered from some sort of illness. Ronaldine asked if she witnessed everything. Celsia replied that she was there from the moment the Emperor felt discomfort, until the moment she closed the door on her. Ronaldine thought if she beat around the bush, she would never reveal her true intention. She wanted her to feel sorry for His Majesty, but that she would push to help him next time. Ronaldine said His Majesty suffers from PTSD, and she caught him at one of his lowest moments. Celsia replied, Could she ask what kind of trauma he is suffering from? She didn't have to answer that. It must have been very difficult for His Majesty to talk to her. She should have been more thoughtful. Ronaldine thought she didn't even get started. Celsia spoke. She promised to keep her mouth shut about what she saw. There is no need for her to worry. Her apologies, she can't stand things like this. She will have a talk with His Majesty when he comes to. Now if she will excuse her. Ronaldine thought she didn't get to explain. Will it be all right? Does she need to resort to extreme measures to bring them together? She should not overthink. She has so much on her plate. Then, on the second day of the birthday banquet, the venue is still packed. His Majesty must be feeling better since he's back on his throne. Then Ronaldine's friends came and asked, Will she be fine? Did Illy harm her in any way? How could she do this after all the time they spent together? One of them stated she heard something interesting. She heard that Lady Verica was behind it all. This isn't the first time she used others for her personal vendetta. Illy wasn't the first, and she certainly won't be the last. She must have something against Ronaldine and Illy, and tried to dispose of both of them in one go. Ronaldine thought that means Celsia will soon be in danger. After her friends left, she thought in the novel, when did Verica start to act against Celsia? She knows Celsia really died during the hunting festival. She needs to remember more. After some time, Emperor stated, "Be careful from here on out." Princess Celsia swore secrecy to what she saw. That would take a load off of UCL's shoulders. Ronaldine replied she could see that he was worrying himself sick. She is sure he would be relieved. Emperor asked, "Were she concerned about UCL?" The next scene, Ronaldine thought, "Her poor back." UCL stated he knows she is busy, but this is too messy for everyone now. Ronaldine thought, "Can she be distracted?" Of course she is. Lord UCL and she have so much to do regarding Celsia. Verica was conscious of Celsia during the first day of the banquet. She seems to be laying low for now, but they don't know when she will act up again. UCL stated they all can take tomorrow off, as His Majesty doesn't have anything on his agenda. He should have informed her in advance. Ronaldine replied she would love to take a day off. After some time, Ronaldine thought it started to rain. She loves the sound of rain. Maybe she will go for a walk. She will stick to the places she knows. How strange. Lord UCL said. His Majesty was free today. Is he working? Wait, something doesn't seem right. Does he suffer from nightmares too? Then she thought, please, she hopes he feels better soon. The color is back in his cheeks. What a relief, she asked. Is he all right, His Majesty? Emperor replied, he. When did she? How did he? Ronaldine spoke. He should not wear himself out. Lord UCL is worried sick about him. He told her Emperor has been pulling all-nighters recently, and that he have been skipping his meals. Emperor stated he has always been like that. They first met when Avern was still a kingdom. His father brought him to the palace to keep him company. He followed him everywhere. They got into many arguments all that time. He would sometimes tease him. They would get into mischief together. Ronaldine spoke. She is having trouble imagining both of them getting into mischief. Then she thought, come to think of it, he doesn't seem to mind human contact anymore. After some time, Ronaldine thought they need to increase their budget to renovate the palace. Then she asked if she needed to see the budget for last year's renovations. UCL replied they fixed so many things last year, even he gets confused sometimes. Then he asked if she didn't have time to check up on His Majesty today. How is he doing? Ronaldine replied he seemed to be doing fine. Why, did something happen? UCL replied he didn't tell her why he gave everyone the day off yesterday. Because yesterday was the day His Majesty's mother passed away. His Majesty has a hard time every year on that day, and his fits become more frequent during that period. He needs to double the amount of potion he consumes, so he was surprised that it passed by so quietly this year. Ronaldine said she will get going. Why does she get so emotional when it comes to His Majesty? She doesn't remember leaving the door open. Celsia was there with His Highness. Ronaldine thought, why is it happening already? It's too early for her to start treating him. Why is she so shocked? She must have been in love with His Majesty when Celsia left them without a fight. What she really felt was a sense of relief. At night, Ronaldine thought she must be losing it. How could she fall in love with a man who tried to kill her? She was scared out of her wits in the beginning. Was that why she felt so sad whenever His Majesty refused to hold her hand? But they can't go against destiny, and she is sure she will get over her feelings one day. She has a dream, and she is going to quit when she has enough money to pursue it. She has to work tomorrow. She must keep her distance. She will avoid him at all costs. On the other hand, reading the same sentence over and over, why is he able to tolerate Ronaldine's touch? He is starting to imagine things. He must have pulled one too many all-nighters. Is it Ronaldine? He just needs to open his eyes. Wait, Ronaldine has a calm woody scent about her. Emperor said, what is she doing? And thought, what is this disgusting floral smell? Celsia spoke. She is sorry for touching him. She noticed something on his hair, Emperor stated, and she didn't even knock. Celsia replied, the butler who guided her left to take care of something, and she got tired of waiting. She was in the wrong, Emperor spoke. She may have heard, but he is in no position to continue on with the negotiation. Please come back another time. Celsia replied she will be taking her leave now. Emperor thought, was he waiting for Ronaldine? Did he want to take advantage of her since she makes the hallucinations go away? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Usil came and said Ronaldine is off work right now. She is feeling under the weather. Emperor thought he should avoid her at all costs. The next day, Ronaldine asked, "Why are the waterway constructions taking so long in this region?" Usil replied she should ask His Majesty. This has been on his mind for quite some time. Ronaldine spoke she will go figure it out on her own. Emperor thought, there she goes again. The moment she starts work, when she hands him the documents, there are notes used to explain in person whenever he asks her for corrections. Ronaldine replied she needs to check the report received from the Foreign Ministry. Could he ask Lord Usil instead? Usil asked His Majesty if he did something wrong. Suddenly, Emperor stated, "Stop avoiding him." Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.